goal 3. Women in engineering, you're looking at goal 5. Clean water, goal 6, and so forth. So you can see here, I've just given some examples of the nexus between engineering and the Sustainable Development Goals. And I'm going to go through a little deeper for some of the areas. So here, this is a map from the World Bank, and it talks about the percentage of the world that needs improved sanitation. And you can see that two-thirds, there's 2.5 billion people, about 30% don't have clean sanitation, and about 1 billion don't have clean water. And you can see the countries that are shaded very light blue, India and much of Africa. So this is the unfinished business for us engineers. We need to address these issues. It's in our hands. We know, we have the technology, we can do it. We need to advocate for it, and we need to get it done. And we need to think of new ways. For example, in water, do we really need to build treatment plants in one place and have long pipes pumping it, with pumping stations and so forth to where the water needs to go? Can we develop new technologies that can treat water in situ in your house, where we can recycle water, use low energy technologies? There are, in fact, you can use metal organic frameworks or MOFs, which can separate and treat water with very low energy requirements and in a compact way. So this is where we engineers can really make a difference for a better world. Sanitation, and particularly for women, it's a particularly important issue in terms of their safety and health, for them to have clean water and sanitation facilities. Energy is another big area, and you can see the very pale colors in Africa, which are deficit in energy. About 1 billion of the world still do not have electricity, and we talked about how important electricity and energy is. And it's not just electricity, but using sustainable resources, not just coal-fired power stations, but looking at renewable sources like solar and wind. Again, in our hands as engineers to address this. This is our business. We need to do this. And cities, our cities are going to grow very fast, including in India. We've got 100 new cities coming up. And more than 2/3 of the world will have an urban population by 2050. More than 2/3. And the biggest cities will be in India, China, and Nigeria. So again, you young people will be living in these cities, and it's up to you to make them sustainable, livable, reduce pollution, improve air quality, which is such a big deal now in India. And the digital evolution, of course, and you can see India is in the bottom right-hand corner, ready to break out and stand out. So again, it's digital evolution, the digital technologies, which are going to drive all the other implications. I think this digital technology will affect our quality of life, as well as our income and values as well. I can't close this talk without talking about the role of women. I think the participation of women in engineering and technology is very important. Women's ideas will drive innovation. We need that diversity of thinking. And you can see India rates 0.48, so we really need to work very hard. The workforce participation in India is among the lowest in the world, only 27%, and ranks 110 in the world. If there was parity for participation of women, if the GDP that would be generated is the equivalent to one China, 12 trillion by 2025, equivalent to one whole China. So this is the amount that we're not utilizing. All the brain power that's not being used needs to be utilized, and I think especially in an institution like IIT, we can really make a difference. So what kind of engineer do you want to be? Are you going to be the kind of engineer that will simply design and create the gee-whiz technologies of future? Because you can. You're an IIT, you can do it. but are you also going to be the kind of thoughtful engineer that will think about the implications of this engineering and how it will serve the world? I have to say that when I was at IIT, one of my lecturers actually inspired me to think about these areas. Her name was Professor Elvira Madhavan, and she talked about the environmental issues. At that time, in the 70s, it was so advanced. And I was inspired to do a master's in environmental engineering, except that it wasn't taught anywhere in the world. But I wanted to do socially responsible engineering, which is why I studied safety engineering, which involved risk assessment and environmental protection. And I've gone on to, for example, set the land use safety criteria for hazardous industries, which has been adopted throughout Australia, in Singapore, New Zealand, and in the Pacific region. And I feel good about it. I have no edifice, no large building that I can point to that I built that, but I know that I've kept people safe. Where hazardous industries have been located, it's been done so that there are appropriate regulations for safety of people. And so this is the kind of socially responsible engineering that I think as engineers we should be passionate about. And this is how we can